Hey folks, in today's video we're going to be shortening my brake hoses. This is a pretty easy process. We're going to trim them down and then I'm going to do a bleed to get them back running as good as new. Let's check it out. The tools I'm using for this job are a wire cutter, needle nose pliers, 8mm wrench, a 2.5, a 3, and a 4mm Allen key, a pick, a barb and olive set, a brake bleed kit, needle driver, and paper towels and rubbing alcohol to clean up. So first things first, I need to take this wheel off and take the brake pads out. I'm removing the front brake pads and the wheel to avoid any brake fluid accidentally getting onto the rotors or the brake pads. We are going to first use the needle nose pliers to pull the clip off the brake bolt. Then remove the bolt using a 3mm Allen. After pulling out the brake pads, I'm inserting a bleed block from the back and using that brake bolt to keep the brake block in place. And I'm using a strap here to keep the front of the bike in place. No need for the handlebar to be swinging freely. I'm also going to try and level my brake lever before removing the brake housing. This is just to try and minimize how much air gets into the hose and into the lever. Now I'm using that 8mm wrench to loosen the bolt. This should not be super tight. The brake hose will be a little stuck in there, but an easy tug should free it from the lever. After loosening the bolt, I'm going to slide it down the cable for safekeeping until I need it later. A bunch of these parts need to be placed in order, so the best to keep them on the bike in that order. I'm using a sharp wire cutter to shorten the hose and a needle nose pliers to return the hose to a round shape. This is not the ideal tool, but will work in a pinch. And I think having a cutter just for the brake hose is not very practical for a home mechanic. I've already cut the cable down and I am using a pick to make it easier to start getting the barb into the hose. Before driving the barb in, make sure you have the olive on the hose. I swear I forget to do this a quarter of the time. It sucks because you can't pull that barb out once it's in the hose. This down. Start driving it in. No need to tighten this bolt crazy tight, just enough to force the olive over the barb and keep the hose securely in the lever. Feels good. Now we're starting the bleed process for the front brake. I'm using the 2.5mm to remove the bleed port on the lever, making sure to place this somewhere safe and to make sure the O-ring is still on that little screw. For Shimano brakes, you can use a bleed cup to add fluid to the brake system. I'm pouring the fluid into the cup away from the bike to avoid spillage. This cup screws into the lever's bleed port, and you can then fill the cup with fluid to add more to the system. This is typically called a top bleed and pretty easy. I'm removing the plunger from the cup and I'll start pumping the brake lever. This will cause air to float to the top and leave the brake hose. Once I'm done, I remove the cup and screw the bleed port bolt back into the lever. There will be a little overflow when you return the bleed port screw, so it's smart to have a paper towel to catch those drops. So with any mechanical process that you put on video, things are going to go wrong. It's just the way it is. I've done this probably like 7 or 8 times now, and some of the things that happened in today's while I was trying to record have never happened to me before. So it's just one of those things. Hopefully you watched the video and you learned something about how easy it is to bleed Shimano brakes, how to cut hydraulic brake hoses, and maybe go out and do this work yourself. It's really not that bad. You know, it took me less than 20 minutes So I think you can do it. Go out, work on your bike, learn something new, be a little bit more self-sufficient in the long run. I'll talk to you later. Hope to see you on the trails. Bye. Oh, I forgot something. I forgot a step. There's a plunger you're supposed to put in. It's gone forever.